Tyrion Lannister looked up from his books and shivered. Ooh, so we got there to Tyrion's first point of view chapter. And I want to thank patron David Sean for this little tune. I think that's gonna be the rereading tune from now on. Let me know what you think in the comments. Ooh, so Tyrion. What was the first thing that drew my attention rereading this chapter? So, since the first thing that we read about Tyrion from his own point of view is that he's reading, that he just pulled out an all-nighter reading, obviously the first thing that drew my attention is that he's a learned man. So the first time we meet Tyrion, he's in the library. He's reading a 100-year-old discourse on the changing of the seasons by a long-dead maester. Oh my goodness, that sounds so boring. Oof. And he read it all night. And Martin says, but that was nothing new. So Tyrion is into reading really dense, thick books. 100-year-old discourse on the changing of the season. Oof. So please erase the buffoon Tyrion of the Game of Thrones show. He's really serious about being smart. He's like really curious. He's up there in Winterfell, he's reading, and then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the wall. It's a tough road. It's freezing. The guy's a nobleman, born with a golden spoon up his ass, from the noblest of houses in Westeros. All his needs have been taken care of since the day he was born. But he's up for trekking all the way north because he knows it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience and opportunity to see this great human achievement, the wall. Oh man, I get that so much. He wants to go to the wall to piece off the edge of the world. That kind of reminded me of this place in South America. I haven't been there, but it's like triangle. You get like the borders of Argentina and Brazil and Peru, I think. You'll see an image now, well, you know what it is. So it's like the edge of the world. Think about it. All the civilization, everything that you know, the houses, the rules, the feudal system, the king, succession, family, honor, all that goes up to the wall, and that's it. That's the edge of the world. Tyrion, he's not only smart, he's not only witty, but he's also kind. So he finishes reading this book in the morning because he read it all night. And he wakes up the young Winterfell Septon, and Martin makes sure to mention that Tyrion does it softly. He's also on a first-name basis. He's a Lord of Lannister. He's here with the king's procession. Okay, he could just as well fucking kick this maester and tell him, wake the fuck up, put the books back in their order. Or he could just order the Septon around, not do it in a malicious way, but he doesn't have to do it softly. He chooses to be nice about it. The maester is still half asleep, so Tyrion patiently repeated his instructions, then clapped the Septon on the back. I will call that, for the rest of this chapter, the Wake Up the Septon test. Just to see which characters are nice and kind, and which are not as nice and not as kind as Tyrion. He's also very conscious of how hideous he looks. Oof. You know, growing up with that reality of being a dwarf with crooked legs, misshaped head, like his forehead is bulging, and knowing all that, no matter how privileged you are, how rich, come on man, you know pain. You know it. So when you wake up this lowly maester, you do it gently. Some people know pain, and that makes them want to inflict pain on others, or just say, fuck it, if I suffered, they should suffer too. But no, Tyrion, he experienced pain, and in his first interaction with someone from his own point of view, he's being really nice about it. So then Tyrion leaves the library, starts the day, then he meets Joffrey and the Hound. In the background, the direwolves are constantly howling because Bran, as you remember, has fallen / tripped / had an accident out the window, and he's sick and whatever, people are tending to him. So the meeting between Joffrey and the Hound on one hand and Tyrion on the other hand, I thought was very interesting. Right, so this is a feudal world. There's a very clear pyramid. Who's on top, who's in the second rung, third, fourth, whatever. So Tyrion, he's the queen's sister. Joffrey, he's the heir to the throne. That's a notch above the queen's sister. The Hound, obviously, is not even a knight. He's like a personal bodyguard, so he's way down below. So there's the feudal pecking order, but then there's reality. It's like the sandbox in kindergarten or the schoolyard. If you're a prince or a lord, that doesn't shield you from the world, you know? It's like if you step onto a basketball court, doesn't matter how rich you are, who's your daddy, what's your job, how educated you are. Hell no! All that matters is how you perform on the court. Now we're playing, and you're gonna get trash talked no matter who you are. So right off the bat, Tyrion calls the crown prince, the heir to the throne, he calls him stupid, basically. He also slaps him across the face, twice! He almost made the heir cry, the heir to the throne. So much for all that posturing Joffrey did in Jon's chapter with Robb being all brave and shit. He's still only 12. He wants to cry. He wants to tell on Tyrion to his mommy. And the Hound, he's right there. That's his personal bodyguard, right? So if Joffrey is the heir to the throne, and he's being attacked, assaulted twice, here stands his personal bodyguard. Isn't his job to protect the heir to the throne? He doesn't do anything. Doesn't do anything about it. He only warns Tyrion later, when Joffrey leaves, that Joffrey will remember it. But officially, technically, he should step in and push Tyrion away or whatever. No. Because, okay, there are the rules and regulations, but in the real world, Tyrion is Joffrey's uncle, and Joffrey is an asshole. He's a brat. And Joffrey himself, he knows those are the playground rules, right? He's the son of the king. The son of the king. But he tells Tyrion, I'll tell mother. Because he can go ahead and tell his dad whatever he wants. His dad is not interested in anything his son has to say. Robert Baratheon, the king, is not really part of the family. It's the Lannisters. So he tells Tyrion, I'll tell mother. She's the queen. The queen! The queen of the realm. She could do so much stuff. She could theoretically punish a person who attacked the prince, even if he's a high lord. That's on paper, maybe. On reality, the queen has no real authority over her brother. So I liked how Martin shows us that there are rules and there's reality. This is a complex world. There are a lot of written rules and there are a lot of unwritten rules. I'm also thinking, I don't know how this Joffrey kid is going to turn out, but from an educational point of view, if in order to get the prince to do something right, something noble, something nice, go and talk to the Stark parents and tell them how sorry you feel for the son who has fallen and his life is in danger, right? Because this is what Tyrion wants Joffrey to do, and when Joffrey refuses, he beats him across the face twice. So if you need to kick the ass of the prince in order to make him do something nice, and that is also very politically important for the family, I think that casts Joffrey's education up to now in a very bad light. He's bullied and humiliated into doing that. Oof. I don't even want to imagine what would happen if, God forbid, Joffrey were to have real power. I hope for Tyrion's sake, because the Hound told him he's going to remember. So if Joffrey stumbles into the throne somehow, Tyrion will be in trouble. But no. Come on. It's not that kind of story. I think this story everything will be fine in this story. And also it got me thinking that Tyrion slapped him so quickly across the face, didn't even try to explain anything to him, explain the real rationale. That shows that he knows who his nephew is, right? He knows that the only way to make him do something is through violence or the threat of more violence. Yeah. Probably because Joffrey doesn't have a real man present in his life, the king, his dad. He's not really there. So he tries too much to be a man with all his bantering with Rob. Yeah, I want to fight, but with real swords. You don't want to fight with real swords? Are you a chicken? Yeah, that's when he knows that there's no real threat of violence. But when there's a dwarf there who's like half your size, hits you on the face and tells you, one more word, I'm gonna hit you again. Then you say, I'll tell mother. You get hit again, and you get another warning, and then he just crumbles like a deck of cards, puts his tail between his legs, and goes to do what he was told to do. When you're trying too hard, when you have no real center and no real sense of identity and sense of real power, your own power, then the moment someone steps up to your face and doesn't back down, then Joffrey the bully, he just doesn't know how to handle it. So Joffrey, he's a stupid twat. How do you think he would do in the wake up the sleeping maester test? Do you think he would do that softly if the Septon was sleeping and he had to tell him to do something? This kid has never read a book or a scroll or anything beyond tweet length. Come on, you know I'm right. You know I'm right. He doesn't want to console the Starks because he says, I cannot abide the wailing of women. Come on, what a dick. A soft dick at that. No. If the Septon was sleeping and he had to wake him up, he would have just yelled at him or pushed or whatever. So he wouldn't pass the wake up the Septon test. Another example in this meeting between those three people, Joffrey, Tyrion, and Hound, about how the real world differs from what the rules say, is the way that the Hound treats Tyrion. So Tyrion is way, way up the ladder from the Hound. The Hound, he's not even a knight. His house is not that big. He's just a personal bodyguard. He has no real power beyond his brute force. He's been called a dog by the crown prince, by Joffrey. But the moment he sees Tyrion, the Hound, he breaks into his comic routine, saying, oh, I can't see who spoke to me. Oh, I'm hearing voices from everywhere, right? He's like looking everywhere, mimicking not seeing the dwarf, and Tyrion says, oh, this is like the millionth time I've heard that. So even though Tyrion is much higher up the ranks than the Hound can still make fun of him, can still ridicule him, right? The same way that Joffrey is theoretically higher up the ranks than Tyrion, and Tyrion can slap him in the face and his personal bodyguard would not do nothing, so Tyrion can do nothing when the Hound just ridicules him again. So why does Joffrey have to go to console the Stark parents? It won't really help the Stark parents emotionally, right? They don't really like this little kid, this little brat, right? It's not really important for them. There's nothing he can really say that will make them feel better as they're tending to their sick son. But this is like the theater of politics. He has to do it. It's required. It's like two mob bosses planning how to kill each other.
Us, motherfucker.
But still they're hugging it out.
Us, man.
They're kissing like civilized people when they see each other, you know? Because hypocrisy is in the DNA of this feudal world. Okay, so after Tyrion is done with his nephew and his dog, he goes to eat something, right? Goes to eat breakfast. There he meets Cersei and Jaime. Here are your culprits. Here are the two people who tried to kill Bran Stark, pushed him out the window, and his only crime was that he heard them conspiring about the king, and he saw them fucking each other, even though not only is Cersei married, she's married to the king, and they are siblings, and they are twins. Anyways, they are there. Bran is still alive. Cersei must be shitting bricks right now. But Jaime, he couldn't care less. They just tried to murder this kid and they're going about their business. So Martin is really setting those two characters up as villains right off the bat. Right off the bat. You cannot not despise them at this point. We don't have, as of now, their inner monologues, so they just did something horrible. They're twins who are sleeping together, which I don't know how you guys view the world, but in my eyes, it's gross. I don't want to be controversial or anything, but twins sleeping together, I don't know. For me, it's out of bounds. I don't want to be critical or judgmental about what other people do, but I don't know, it's just me. Just me. Please tell me in the comments, what are your thoughts on twins sleeping together? So until we get their own POV, we'll just have to keep on hating on them. So when Tyrion enters the room, the dining hall, the first thing he does is ask, is the king not here because he's sleeping in? This just points how unimportant Robert is for the family. This is the Lannisters. Robert Baratheon, that would be weird seeing him there. They have all they need. They have twins who are also lovers, and parents, and their children. That's family. Wholesome Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin family. It's like the Brady Bunch, if the parents were really siblings. Yeah. So we can immediately see that Tyrion, okay, he's short and ugly and ridiculous, and they are tall and beautiful and glamorous, but he's smarter than them. He's smarter than them. He knows politics way more than them. He explained to Jaime the political realities of his king, when he needs to go, where he will stay, and Jaime is like, really? And I think that goes a long way to tell us about Jaime at this point. He has been in the King's Guard for what, 15 years now? And Tyrion knows the king better than he does, knows the king's thinking and constraints better than his King's Guard. Ugh. Shouldn't Jaime tell him what's going on behind the scenes? No. And Jaime, he was the one groomed for leadership, but he's an unserious man. He's lazy, he's disinterested. I'm guessing it's because he has the combination of being born rich and privileged and getting everything he wants, and also being super handsome, super good at what he does. So he's like, everything just comes easy to him. He doesn't really need to work hard. So that's the opposite of Tyrion. Tyrion had to work hard, he had to learn, he had to study in order to have some room or worth in the world in his own eyes. Jaime is not only not serious, he's also not curious. But he's not all bad. He was somewhat nice to Tyrion growing up. That's what Martin said. So let's give him that, right? And it seems that being beautiful and physically capable is very important to Jaime. That's like what makes him who he is. He would rather die than be a cripple. You know what? I really hope nothing bad ever happens to him. He would have a hard time getting over it if he would be a cripple. Cross your fingers, people, and tell me in the comments what you think about his fate. So that's Jaime. The first time that Tyrion interacts with his sweet sister, it says, his sister peered at him with the same expression of faint distaste she had worn since the day he was born. Ouch! She doesn't even respect him enough to show him how much she truly hates him. It's only a faint distaste. This is horrible. I pity Tyrion. So then Tyrion informs them that Bran may yet live, and he watches his brother and sister carefully as they exchange like a second-long look. The fact that he was looking for that look before that look was even there, that shows us that he's suspecting something. But he doesn't even articulate it in his mind. Had he not suspected anything, he could have just said, the Stark kid may still live. That's it. Okay, so he's very perceptive, but it really seems as if he was searching for a hint in order to reinforce his suspicions, but he doesn't even say anything in his own head, otherwise we would know it, because that's his point of view. He also gives another hint when he says that he'd be curious to hear what Bran has to say, and there's like a nice little exchange there. Why would Tyrion be curious to hear what Bran has to say? He knows what's going on. He knows that his brother and sister are fucking. He must know. Is he like feeling left out in some way? Some weird perverted way? How does it feel to have your two older brother and sister, more beautiful, more respected, more prominent, fucking? As I'm not even inviting you to the party. Come on, twins. That's not nice. That's not nice. He's your brother. Come on. And if Tyrion is that perceptive, then he must know that something is going on. He's been there his whole life, right? He's watched them. He's seen them. He's also very little. I'm sure he can hide in certain places to see stuff. That whole incestuous affair probably does not make him feel more welcome in his family. Like, the one person that has been somewhat nice to him his whole life is in love with the person that hates him the most. So let's apply the wake up the maester test for Cersei and Jaime. They will probably have hit the maester upside the head. So it's very clear now, after we've seen Joffrey and Cersei and Jaime, that Tyrion is very different from his entire family. It doesn't really look like he belongs with all these perfect people, perfectly horrible creatures. And he's the creature? Come on, he's not the creature. He's not the creature. That's some injustice right there. He carries this injustice with him wherever his misshapen feet take him. So this is a very interesting thing that Martin does way back in the 90s when he wrote this book. He goes against this like very old and romantic way to depict heroes in stories in general and in fantasy in particular, because Martin goes into great lengths to tell us how beautiful this family is. They're all super beautiful. And he has taken one person of this family, one member of this family, and has made him really ugly and grotesque. That's Tyrion. But these beautiful people, they're either being incestuous, or pushing kids out of windows, or making fun of grieving parents. That's the beautiful people. He's not one of them. So that's an interesting kind of twist that Martin does there. So, Bran will live. Bran will live, thank God. I really thought he was done after he was pushed. I said, come on, he can't survive that. But somehow he's making it. The entire Bran chapter before he was pushed out the window, he was dreaming of all the things he was going to do. I was going to do this, I was going to do that, and the world is beautiful. And now he has a broken back and broken legs. And Tyrion thinks the wolf is keeping him alive in some magical way. So this is interesting because Tyrion is a learned man, he's a logical man. And he still believes in some magical powers that are beyond the human grasp. And even the Maester Luwin, who we know is very logical, he had to agree that there was something really mysteriously magical going on between the wolf and Bran, because they closed the doors in order to block out the wolf's howling, but that made Bran weaker. So they opened the door and then he became stronger again. Okay, so even though Tyrion is very rational, magic is not outside of the realm of his rationale. So that's like a very gentle reminder that even though we're reading about this political world, there's still some magic here. And Cersei, she's afraid of the direwolves. She said she doesn't want them in the south. So Jaime tells her, you have no choice on the matter, they're going south with you. But they will never get south. They will never get south. So this is the most prominent political family in the realm, and yet no one outside Tyrion understands politics. Not Joffrey, not Jaime, not Cersei. Only the person, Tyrion, who doesn't have a job in this political family. So that's a sign for things to come. Okay, so we got to my favorite part of the chapter. My favorite part. And my favorite part is really sad. Really sad. Tyrion, he walks around in Winterfell, and everyone is in pairs. There's Joffrey and the Hound. Then there's Cersei and Jaime. There's Myrcella and Tommen. Robert has Ned. Ned has Robert. Bran, he has his wolf. Who does Tyrion have in the world? He is there in Winterfell with his extended family, and all their men. and yet he has no one in his corner. No one. That's why he said that his childhood was long and terrible, and no one but his brother has ever shown him the slightest affection. All he has are his books, reading books. That's some tragic shit right there. So I hope you enjoyed this rereading video, and if you want to support the work of the channel to help it go forward and produce all the videos that you've seen so far into the future, then becoming a patron on patreon.com/GOTacademy would go a long way in making that possible. The channel is sustained like 99% through the patrons. So if you have been a long time viewer, follower, subscriber, and you wanna help us go forward, then check out our Patreon page. There's also a lot of extra content. So thank you everybody for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time. That was beautiful.
Thank you. It's not me, it's psychoanalysis.